Hi guys, Telemon here. There's nothing that I love quite like a great fight. The emotion, the choreography, the themes. There are few things in fiction, of any kind, that can bring the dopamine out of me quite like two people with clashing worldviews and beliefs beating the absolute shit out of each other. I'm also a big fan of magic. Real life can often be very tedious and mundane, so there's few things more interesting to me than hearing about the supernatural, the paranormal, the occult, and all things bizarre. Worlds in which the seemingly impossible is nothing more than an everyday sight. So you can imagine how I feel when I find stories that combine great fights and magical powers. Two of my favorite things in unison that together can create truly special moments and experiences. It's why I enjoy fighting games, progression fantasy, comic books, battle shonen, light novels, and the like. And it's because I spend so much time with these things that I feel comfortable saying this. Next to super strength, fire manipulation is the most overused yet underpowered ability in all of anime and manga. Fire in a lot of action shonen may as well just be fancy light shows for how effective it actually is at hurting people. At best, it'll be used as though it's a force blast or just a flashy means of making an attack stronger. I can't tell you how many times I've seen characters take direct fire blasts to the face and come out of it little worse for wear. Fire is genuinely one of the most dangerous aspects of nature. It's the embodiment of destruction, and it's what has enabled humanity to rise above the food chain and become the apex species on Earth. Unless it's a plant or an animal that's had millions of years to adapt to it, fire consumes everything in its path. A direct hit from fire should nearly always end with the person on the receiving end being completely messed up. There's little ways to explain why someone isn't being boiled alive when even tough metals melt when in contact with extreme heat. And I'm not even taking into account the fact that the heat would cook their insides, and that the fire would literally choke the air out of their lungs. If you've ever been close to a large bonfire or experienced a house burning down, you'd understand how much heat fire produces just by being in close proximity to it. People have gotten second and third degree burns from fire explosions despite being nearly 50 yards away. Even being in the general vicinity of a large fire is enough to really mess you up. And don't even get me started on smoke and all the damage that it can cause. But in shonen, convection isn't a thing, and if it's not a direct hit, it basically didn't happen. Characters will be near mountains of flames, and forget the burns or the heat stroke that should be killing them, they probably won't even be sweating. If fire abilities were as deadly as they should be, fire powers would easily kill or severely injure everyone that they go up against. But that's rarely ever the case. Fire should be a top tier power in every verse, but it rarely ever is. Sure, there are characters who use fire who are top tiers, but their status usually comes from pure strength rather than their actual abilities. In practice, the people fighting fire users often might as well be taking zero damage from the actual flames. Now, there are other elements that are sometimes shrugged off way too easily, but none are treated as egregiously as fire. And look, I get it. Characters in all of these stories are clearly superhuman, even if they aren't meant to be. And writers are free to apply anything that they want in any way that they want in their stories so long as it fits the narrative. Wind isn't an element, but it's still often used as one. Human beings are made of water, but people with hydrokinesis were rarely abused as fact, because these ideas wouldn't fit the story being told, and said fit is more important than elements being used accurately. It's ultimately all about what the writer wants to achieve. A lot of stories strive to be kid-friendly, so I understand that they can't show the realistic effects of being hit by elemental forces. And then there's also the fact that realism can hamper the story in many ways. If a fighter got hit by a flame and had to take months to recover from a second degree burn, then they'd have to be removed from the story, or readers would have to witness them take months to recover, neither of which may be in the best interest of the story, so it's easier to just have them tank it. I get all that. But at the same time, if you're not going to use fire as it actually exists, why use it at all? I'd prefer for authors to exclude an ability if they know that they can't do it justice or depict that ability in its truest form. But it feels like most would rather just include a half-baked version of powers like this because it seems cool. Which is a shame, because if it's not for an important story beat, or for a one-sided beatdown, fire is never going to do much. It'll never really burn anyone, let alone kill them. The fact that some of my favorite stories can go hundreds of chapters while never having fire do much of anything makes it all the more exciting when you come across a story that treats fire how it realistically should be treated. Fire may very well be the most overused, undervalued, and misunderstood superpower in anime, besides maybe super strength, but that's a video for another day. And that's all for now. If you liked the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me out, and I'll see you guys next time.